Every year we ask our customers what are the things that they want to learn about, what are the biggest problems that they're having in their organizations, and those are our themes for the day. And so those are, this year, getting leadership buy-in, tracking innovation and metrics, and building innovation teams. And so obviously everybody's packaged a little bit of it into their presentations. You got a lot of good innovation and metrics stuff in your presentation. But Kelly, who's going to come up here next, she's going to be a really good resource for you, telling you how to build innovation teams. And what's fun about having Kelly speak is last year was her first year attending Open Nation, and she was just getting started launching her program at that time. And now she's here to tell us what she's learned in that year. So thank you, Kelly, for coming.
Good morning. Kelly Wagner-Grull. I am with the Credit Union of Colorado, and I cannot believe that I've shared this photo with you, or two of them. I even shared two. And I think my mom's favorite was the mime, because I did not speak at all on Halloween. So Credit Union of Colorado, we have been on the IdeaScale platform. Our 1-year anniversary, our birthday is next week. So yes, so last year I sat in this room and was like, what in the world did we buy? And certainly following NASA, I think it's appropriate. I'm about to talk to you about superheroes, so thank you for your work and our journey. And so I am going to walk you through what the last year has looked like for us. So to tell you a little bit about Credit Union Colorado, we were founded in 1934. We used to be the Colorado State's Employees Credit Union, and as you know, credit unions are member-owned. So we work for our members. We are a not-for-profit, so it's very important that we stay lean and efficient as much as we can. We have about 350 employees. We serve 140,000 plus members, and we're the 5th largest credit union in the state. And why we decided to talk to IdeaScale in the first place was really because the banking industry, as you may know, as all banking customers, is very much primed for disruption. We have a lot of non-traditional players trying to come into the space, change the way we do payments, change the way that you borrow and transition money. And therefore, our organization knew that if we wanted to be part of the conversation in the future, we were going to really have to start thinking and doing a bit differently for our members. Otherwise, we would become non-existent in the space. So what we did is we really had to also evaluate as a leadership team when we were doing our strategic plan, how were we going to identify some of these blind spots that we really didn't even know that we had. We also had a recent employee engagement survey that said our employees really wanted to be part of the conversation more than we were allowing them to be. We would give them our strategic map and they would say, okay, great, we're going in that direction, but they wouldn't really know why we were going in that direction. They weren't really helping us come up with ideas. And so being able to embrace that why we were going to do what we were going to do was one of the most important steps that we took, again, about 18 months ago now. And therefore, we also knew that organizationally, words matter for us. So what we say, how we act, what we don't say, are all just as important as the words that we put onto our strategic maps. And therefore, what we did is we said, you know what, we need to define what this massive word of innovation is going to mean to us. Because innovation feels huge, right? It's supposed to be redefining the iPhone experience or solving, NASA, putting some stuff on the moon and growing things. For us, it's a little bit different, but it really is about defining innovation as a cultural mindset for us. It needed to be inside our DNA, or it'd be one of those things that we just did, looked back and said, oh yeah, we do innovation. So what we did is we took and we defined as a leadership team and then asked for feedback in a non-IdeaScale way, which of course now I would use differently. But we asked for, could they support this initiative? Could they support us being able to adopt this as a cultural expectation, that we were going to foster experimentation, celebrate failures, drive continuous improvement, and not innovate for the sake of innovating, that we had to create member value in order for this to be successful. All right, so we also commonly use a lot of positive quotes and information to continue to embed this into our culture. So on our screensavers, one of the things we did is we used to have these beautiful mountains, being that we live in Colorado and we stopped really realizing that we have mountains. And they were on our screensavers and our logo. But what we started to do was we started to take creative quotes, whether that be from our members, from our customers, from our employees, and things like this where we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking as we used to create it. This started that undertone of adopting innovation into the culture. And so something that, embeds my office all over the walls, right, are these creative things that I try to repeat and sound like I came up with it, but in this case, Albert did. All right, so what we did first, here we go. So this is our journey, I'm gonna walk you through it. The first thing we did was we adopted a culture of experimentation. We said we're gonna ideate, we're gonna define our problems, we're gonna test it, prototype it, and then we're gonna repeat the behaviors that work and let go of the ones that didn't. So we took a three-pronged approach to taking action. So the first thing is we knew we needed a leadership team to champion this. We knew we needed to define a strategy that could be tangible and digestible by our teams and ultimately by our members. And we also had to have a little gut and a little bit of faith that this was going to work out. All right, so the first thing that we did is I got the opportunity to lead this initiative for our organization. I've been with him for about 10 years and therefore had a lot of operational knowledge. So they said, hey, we think you should lead this innovation thing. Of course, I thought, I'm not sure what that means, but okay. And first thing I did was I grabbed two of our chiefs. And I said, all right, if we're going to do this, I need two people in the room. Because I knew well enough that one could not, the weight of that expectation couldn't reside on one executive's head. Because innovation, as you might know and experience in your own organizations, it's one of those things that could get done tomorrow. It's not going to rub up against the big organizational strategic initiatives if you don't make it a priority. We also selected, Lydia's here with me today. She's the real reason why this works, so any questions, she'll be taking those. So what we did is we said, okay, this is kind of our core group, and we're going to keep it very small and intentional. We then took our strategy and said, okay, we got to make eat the elephant one bite-sized piece at a time. So we broke that elephant down into 4 specific steps. We said, okay, we're going to be rooted in research and development. We're going to have facts before we do anything. We're going to build a competency that requires every single employee at our organization to be part of the innovation conversation. So you're going to be used on your annual review is going to include an innovation component. We also knew we had to build some tools because innovation doesn't just happen. It's not just something that we flip this switch on and everyone is all of a sudden an innovator. And then we also knew that we had to go ahead and find some of our superheroes. These are the individuals in our organization that had the great ideas. They were closest to the member. They were going to be able to ideate a lot better than, say, leaders who sit kind of up on the top looking down going, okay, well, that ROI metric's not working. Okay, why are we not selling that product? And it's important to note that we are not a sales-driven culture. So we are very much a member-centric culture. So our obsession with the member experience does create a great space for us to ideate and to be able to say it matters for a member how they feel when they walk into our organization, how they experience us when they're on the phone with us. And so we said, let's go find those people to make this vision happen. So we did a lot of research. So we started with that actually most of us, which I think you might agree, at first I said no way, and then my obsession with my phone caught me doing 11 hours per day interacting with media. This is reading, playing, right, researching, texting, 11 hours a day spent. And so we said, might we tap into that with our employees? How might we look at them and say, hey, if we create a space that you could communicate, would you communicate and would you share some of that 11 hours with us, finding new ways to do things? We also knew that we had to, stay there. All right. So we also found a book by a gentleman named Soren Kaplan. He's a doctorate professor, and I'm not going to remember where. So first piece of homework for you is go find out where he works. He is an innovator by trade, and his philosophy was really around disruptive change management for organizations. And what he did is his book, again, it's the smallest book I've ever read. I bet you it's 50 pages long, but it's got a lot of pictures, win for me. And it also created a model that I found, wow, it could really resonate with us. And so really what he does is he takes you through a step-by-step process, and I'm gonna show you what his research has shown. And I'm hoping, Rob, the volume is gonna work. Here we go, I'm pushing the button. All right. So, okay, good. It still gave me goosebumps, so it means we're doing something right. This really resonated with us culturally. It resonated with me as an individual, and gave us a really good, if you will, like springboard to say, okay, what are we going to do? So as I sat in my office, and I said, all right, we're going to have to, become a more innovative organization. And I started to create, how would we do this? So inside of this, in the Visible Advantage, he gives us a map. And you know what? We grabbed onto this, and we have not let go. So what this is this is really showing you how we were going to spend our time. So we were going to spend 70% of our time doing incremental innovation. Not changing the world, but literally putting different toilet paper in our bathrooms. Could be, right, innovating the seating material we had in our lobbies. It could be everything from the small incremental changes that our employees were asking for, all the way to saying, if you would just change the pens on the teller line, that would work consistently. Do you know how much time we wouldn't spend running around the office trying to find a pen? I was like, oh my gosh. All right, so then we were gonna spend 20% of our time sustaining innovation. This was gonna be around kind of the larger think ideas, like, you know what, we're gonna revamp our overdraft product. It's not gonna change the world necessarily, but it might change our world. And then we're gonna spend 10% of our time in disruptive. So what were we gonna do about autonomous vehicles? What happens when we no longer, as our bread and butter product, can sell auto loans? How are we going to be part of that conversation? How are we going to fit into the subscription model industry where you may not come into your branch? In fact, I want a show of hands. Who still goes into branches? So I want you to talk to me about Credit Union Colorado, because we've got 16 beautiful locations that, and you can bank anywhere. No, but right, here's the number one thing. Our members constantly ask us for more locations. And I want to be like, no, you don't. You don't want us to build a building and spend your $1.6 million on a branch that you're not going to use. So how do we change the disruptive conversation to shift our members' minds to say you can bank anywhere? And again, you can see it on the bottom. So this strategy really allowed me to, as a visual learner, to say, okay, what are we going to do? So once we got our idea around what the model was going to look like, we also said, as you remember, words matter to us, and so we had to build an organizational competency. How are we going to require our employees to be part of the innovative conversation every single day? So what we did is we looked at what was the unity of actions that we needed. What was the definition going to look like that for someone that was on the front line all the way up to our executive team in order for them to be able to be held accountable for the innovation? And then how are we going to measure it? So at this point, I'm sitting in my office saying, okay, well, this part's kind of been a little easier than I thought, right? Now I just need to write this competency, it'll be fine. So writing the competency was not so easy. It took, I hate to admit it, I think there was 14, 15 versions. And I spared you the actual definitions, but I pulled out the keywords. So again, words matter, the filler did not as much. So the intent of our core competency was really about making new connections in new ways, exploring new ways of thought, experimenting, brainstorming, and again, going back to the member, which is where our heart is, allowed us to write expectations for each level of our employees. So again, everything from frontline to our executives have a core competency associated with innovation. All right, so you're probably thinking to yourself, well, there's not much superhero flying going around yet. Well, enter our first wave of superheroes. So our organization hosts a program called Emerging Leaders. This is an application process that invites our employees to join what we call Emerging Leaders, where we teach them leadership styles, leadership communication, ask them, are you sure you really want to be a leader? Because you really want to be a leader. And so this group was about 20 wide. Lydia was part of that group. And what we did is we said, hey, emerging leader owners, can I borrow those 20 people for 90 days and give them a project? And they agreed and said, yes, what a great way to test this, emerging leader group. And so our emerging leaders came in and we borrowed them. And again, there was 18 of them. We took them they normally volunteer their time for 12 weeks, all on leadership training, but we took 90 of those. And we gave them the opportunity to launch this new idea platform. We didn't know who we were going to use, what we were going to use, but we knew we needed some type of tool to help us spur on this innovation muscle. So what they did is they sat down and started to brainstorm. Again, they are cross-functional, they are multiple levels, mostly unleaders, if you will, or not leaders at that point in time. And they built our toolkit. So remember, that's the second piece of our strategy, our third piece was building what tools. They used Apple-esque like icons to resonate with the millennials, and it's done well. So they built out 5 different components that I'm going to walk you through. So the first couple that they built was around iLearn. So the iLearn was actual education competency material, design thinking. They built ideation, they built knowledge building. These are classes that they would show up for, that we partnered with our L&D team to deliver the content, because they needed that muscle, right? They needed to know, okay, how do I solve problems? We didn't make a lot of assumptions, and I was very proud of them for that, because oftentimes they're like, just go in a room and ideate. People are like, I don't know what that means. They also did the I think category, and what this was the opportunity to do some self-paced. So we put blogs out there, we put new material for you to think and do differently. We call it brain food because we really wanted them to say, hey, if you can do it from your office, you don't need to drive down into Denver in order to get the brain food that you need. The I do category also was we spoon-fed for our leaders team meeting material that they could download quickly and host a 5 or 10 minute innovation conversation in their staff meetings. So again, hopefully you're seeing the undertones that we're constantly feeding to the organization to make sure that the conversation was continuing to be part of what we did every single day. Now there's 2 more icons that I'm going to go into a little bit deeper. The next thing we did is probably the most unique thing that we did, at least part of the launch campaign, was around our iExplore tours. So what we did is we invited individuals to come along on these iExplore tours. 15 or so of our employees, we took them outside of our walls, and we dipped their heads, as we called it, in cross-collaboration with fintech, startups, competitors who would let us in, and literally just hosted 2-3 hour sessions having a conversation. I like to call it intentional collision, because what it means is that we intentionally put ourselves in front of other people that we normally wouldn't talk to, and then tried to see what would happen if we meshed our brains together. And what we ended up finding was that we actually took on new solutions, we found new vendors, we did things differently based on just new ways of thinking that we wouldn't have actually done had we just stayed in a classroom, stayed in our own four walls. And so very, very proud of this team for helping to bring to the table this iExplore journey that they went on. Now, we also, again, as I remind you, right, we don't really have a platform yet. We don't know about IdeaScale completely. And thankfully to Lydia and her 2 other peers, they went out to market and looked for the product. So our team selected IdeaScale from our people. We didn't do a formal RFP per se. We just asked questions and said, you need to make us think differently and help the organization really make this part of our DNA. And what they did is they launched our tool called Engage. And so the IdeaScale product really was helpful for us to be able to get our feet off the ground and knowing what to do. And so I'd like to have you just watch a brief video, which is their launch video that went out to our organization about the selection of our platform. Come on, Rob.
Have you ever had an idea and didn't know what to do with it? Where do you send it? Who do you tell? How do you make it grow?
Trust us, we've been there. So that's why we are excited to bring you Engage, an interactive platform that is part of the Innovation Toolkit.
Engage is the place where you and everyone else will be able to submit your ideas. Engage will keep track of all the feedback your idea gets. That way you can watch it grow with the comments and the support of others.
Best of all, you'll be able to do the same for them. So how does Engage work? The first thing to do would be to log into Engage. This can be done from the Innovation Toolkit available on Chirp.
Make sure to take a look at all the other opportunities that the Innovation Toolkit has. Once you log into Engage, you can browse all the current campaigns or idea topics that we've created. Campaigns will be curated by Engage's innovation administrators who pose questions about how we can innovate at the credit union.
To start, the campaigns will be broad and focused on how we can improve the credit union. In the future, innovation administrators may run shorter periodic campaigns that ask for more specific suggestions, which will keep the campaigns up to date.
When you are ready to submit your idea, first choose the campaign it's suited toward. Then enter a title for your idea and a description of what that idea entails. You can upload images, links, and other files that show others where you got your idea or what it means. Finally, you'll be able to choose tags that fit your idea, so that if your idea fits into a certain niche, it'll be easier to find.
Now you have submitted your idea. What happens next? This is where our community comes in. Anyone on Engage will be able to see your idea, comment on it, and vote it up if they support it. If your idea gets enough attention, the innovation team will reach out to you and help determine if your idea can be made into reality. They evaluate based on rationale, timing, scale, and relevancy to current initiatives.
If the idea could use more refining, the timing isn't right, or it's related to another idea and can't move forward, then your idea doesn't go away. Instead, it moves to Lenny's Lab. Lenny's Lab is another way for your idea to grow, and while your idea is there, you get valuable feedback on how to present your idea in the future. If your idea is good to go, it will go through a funnel process. A funnel process is built of multiple stages that will help transform your idea into reality. Our innovation administrators will help refine and improve your idea through each stage. Business unit owners, the project planning committee, and Engage moderators will all work together to evaluate your idea further.
Some ideas may only require a few resources or a small change that can be implemented right away as a quick win. Others might fit into a certain department's business plan as an initiative. Some will enter the approval process for a project. You will be notified if your idea progresses or if at any point your idea is moved to Lenny's Lab.
Ideas that make it through the funnel emerge on the other side, ready to be implemented into the credit union as a reality.
So get in there and start sharing your ideas. Looking for something that you can do right now? Log into Engage through the Innovation Toolkit and complete your action of the day. Remember, we can't do it without you. Your ideas improve the credit union for all of us and all of our members.
So hopefully you can see, right, by using and leveraging our original crowd, we were able to create a true opportunity to do a platform launch. So how did we actually do it? Let me take you quickly through the steps. So again, I had 18 people to try to figure out how to do this in 90 days. So they built this platform in 90 days as a side job to the normal job they were doing. So the first thing is we had our launch and admin group, and they were really our experts. They selected IdeaScale, they became experts at Basecamp, they deployed, became deployment experts, and of course, I still have yet to let Lydia leave me. And so really, they also became the admin owners. We had our next group, which was our brand look and feel. This is the team that drove Lindsay, our account rep, crazy because they did all the site branding, they created the custom landing pages, they did site behavior expectations, and they started to create the tutorial around what organizational communication and training was needed. Then we also had one of the great things that this team did that I want to call out briefly is this is a differentiator page for us. What they did is they took the icon kind of savviness that we are, and they built out an actual trending ideas page. So what they did is, remember those idea tags that can be associated with every idea? They're actually now grouped by idea owner. So our business services team actually gets their own icon, which helps with idea ownership, helps with narrowing the organization's idea platform, because it can be very overwhelming when you have over 400 ideas coming in. So this group had the knowledge in order to create these icons and allow the crowd to really be able to go one layer deeper into idea refinement to see who was going to own certain ideas. So very proud of them for that creative thinking. Our last group was our architectural and governance group. They owned the initial campaigns, they were moderators, they worked on the idea workflow, which we've refined multiple times since then, and they also were the technical onboards with IT, because obviously, there was some single sign-on stuff we needed to do. All right, so then what we did was we were able to go, now what? So we've got this platform, we've got the competency, we got executives on board, and so really we needed a way to be able to say, hey, what were we gonna do after these emerging leaders graduated? And we also had this gig economy happening within our organization where people were saying, I don't know, I always wanna do this job, I wanna stay with the credit union, but I just don't know if I wanna actually stay in this role or do this role full time. So enter in our next wave of superheroes. So we launched what we call our innovation ambassadors. We do believe that people sitting in the front lines, not just these emerging leaders that come in for 12 months, but these people who really want to help us change the conversation going forward. And so we recruited our ambassadors, and we really started at the top. So again, we said, executive team, we need you to support this initiative. They gave us the green light. We then sought out and put an application out, and we recruited 12 ambassadors that are going to stay with us over the next 24 months, hopefully. And then we also picked some advisors. So leaders within our organization lead very much in a horizontal way, right? We've got our verticals, you stick with them. And so what this did is this gave them an opportunity to actually lead vertically. Nope, that would be horizontally. We actually could let them lead horizontally. So they're leading different groups of people that they normally wouldn't be able to meet with. Now, we also worked on our member journey mapping. So what this is we took a design thinking approach and we're able to deploy this in each of the ideas that we do. We taught this methodology to our ambassadors in order for them to have some meaningful ways to do that. And some of the things they're doing, again, remember that 70-20-10 model? They're doing incremental work, they're doing sustaining work, and then we've got our wild ideas, which are looking forward. And this is just one one wave that we're working on currently, which we are 1.5 at this point. We'll launch 2.0 in March of next year. And so, let's see here. One quick thing is, although this looks like the bedtime routine at my house with my 4 children, this is actually the model that we try to stay within, which is complete chaos in the beginning, ramping up tons and tons of ideas and bringing them all the way through innovation in order to do so. Now, one of the big things for you to take away from this is really about identifying what is your innovation appetite. How willing are you to jump into this pool? How much resources are you willing to sink? And are you willing to say, in our case, that we're going to spend 70% of our time doing the small things, 20% doing the things that could really start to differentiate us, and 10% with those disruptive ideas? So where do we go from here? Well, we don't really have a destination in mind. We're just going to keep going. This just shows you, again, our birthday is 1 week from today. We have 432 active users. We have over 1,500 comments made, 12,000 votes. So we have a very, very active crowd that has been really grassrooted effort, or the grassroots efforts have been because of people like Lydia who are living in our world, and they are the spark plugs, not the leaders pushing down that you have to participate in this program. And again, we're about 7% implemented. We're targeting a 10% implementation rate, which is pretty solid for us, given that we normally were only implementing 1 to 2 ideas a year. So where are we going now? We need to get members participating in our platform. That's our strategy for 2020. We also need to make sure that we follow NASA's lead and do a lot more idea leader challenges that are supported by the business units asking questions. And we need to continue to deploy faster. So my recommendation to you is this, as I close out, is go find your superheroes. They are in your contact centers, they're your new hires, they're your executive leaders. Those are the people who can make this platform or your platform work. We also, go and define your vision. Go make sure you know what your words are and why they matter. Make sure you seek it out, let them explore, and then shine based on the outcomes that you're working on. And I leave you with this, is that you really can be your own superhero, right? You really can find that all the small ideas are the ones that are going to really make a difference and really make you shine. So go forth, change the world, find those great ideas, and let IdeaScale help you. Thank you. Sorry.